Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on where you're at. LinkedIn family, YouTube friends, and my friends from X as well too. Uh, we are re-kicking off Coffee with Bob today, and I'm very excited. Took a brief hiatus from doing this for a while, just because life gets crazy and gets in the way. So I really wanted to bring it back, and I can't think of a better way of bringing it back than introducing you guys to a fairly new connection of mine on LinkedIn. Kiley Houck has been around a short time, at least in my feed. And just from the very little time that I've known her, she is just simply amazing. And I think she needs to get a bigger following. So I can't think of a better person to have premier Coffee with Bob again than this young lady here, Kiley Houck. Did I say your last name right, Kiley?
Yes, you did. Perfect.
Oh, cool. I finally got that right. So, for those of you who don't know Kiley, you definitely should get to know her, connect with her, follow her, engage with her. She produces some amazing content on LinkedIn. I'm sorry I haven't seen your content on Facebook. I'm not a big Facebook guy, so I haven't seen a lot of your content on Facebook, but I'm sure you're on all the socials.
I am, yeah, and
Perfect.
I definitely duplicate, so you're not missing too much.
Awesome, awesome. So Kiley has what she's called her health haven, right? That's kind of her background, and I don't want to go into too much about what your background is because I want you to tell your story because it's amazing. So why don't you tell everybody what you're doing these days, Kiley?
Yes, so I am currently a certified health coach helping people eat the way that they want to. I want to let you feel confident around food again because food has become such a restrictive thing in our lives. We fear it, we don't trust ourselves around it, and I want you to build a confidence and a positive relationship with food that you deserve to have. Oh no, I don't know if everybody can
Kiley,
see me.
hey,
Oh, hi.
yeah, hang on. So before we went live, I did get a notice from StreamYard that they are experiencing difficulties today. Of course, when I decided to premiere the show, StreamYard is having issues. So they're working on it. I know they're working on it. So we might hit these little blips now and then. So please bear with us. We're going to try and get your message out. Okay, Kiley? So maybe start over and tell everybody, how you're helping people mindfully eat, which I think is an awesome thing.
Yes, I am helping people tune back into their bodies because we have been told that we shouldn't trust ourselves. We should and shouldn't eat certain things. We've been told when, how, and why, and what we should be eating. And that is not in tune for every single person. We're all different. We all have a unique definition to health and wellness. And if you engage in mindful eating, you're able to take back control of what you do, make conscious, intentional choices that serve you both mentally and physically, because food is more than just fuel in my book. And you're able to take on life actually feeling satisfied and fulfilled.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you know what's really cool? I want you to talk about this, right? Talk about your journey. So this is not something that you're just teaching people. You're actually living this.
Absolutely, yes. So I was deep in the diet culture for about 2 years. I started my weight loss journey in 2019 when I was 198 pounds, and I lost 65 pounds into 2021. But with all of that came a lot of toxicity in regards to the way that I function in my everyday life. I hated myself. I hated everything that was around me. I was isolated. I was restricting, deprived, and then it was creating these binging tendencies. So I just didn't feel confident in my abilities to function in a way that I perceived as normal. And all I cared about was being skinny because that's all anyone ever talked about in the social media world for women. And When I realized that I had hit my breaking point, feeling the relief of letting go of all of that intensity, feeling like I could for a moment live and not die if I just let go for a second and stop trying to be perfect, it gave me so much confidence and empowerment to take on life, starting to tune in and let go. And so I found mindful eating, I found moderation, and I never turned back. And so for 3 years, I've been able to sustain my 65-pound weight loss, which 80 to 90% of dieters cannot do because in 1 to 3 years, they will gain most, if not all, of their weight back.
Yeah. Wow, that's amazing. That really is amazing. And it's very, very cool that you just I don't know if you can hear me. Alex B just said, hang on, we're gonna show this.
Oh, thank you so
There we
much,
go.
Alex.
And they really are, you know. Um and and they really are. I mean, the social media just has a long way. So now your journey is all about mindful eating, right? Taking a look at what you're doing. So it's not really dieting per se as much as it is understanding what you're putting into your body, right? So what do you say to all those people that are now using all these different what do they call the instead of mindful eating as an example?
Yeah, so a lot of people that are stuck in the diet culture or are engaging in mindless eating is it's a really common issue. So a lot of us go into brain shutdown mode. We restrict and we diet for a really long time. We put all of this intensity into our day and we do it to the point of exhaustion or burnout, just like a lot of people experience in their professional life. And when we're constantly trying to live up to this high expectation, trying to be perfect, filtering this all or nothing mindset, we end up shutting down. We want to turn our brains off. We don't want to deal with anything and we just kind of want to numb out. And a lot of times we do that with the food that we've been restricting for so long because we're tired of saying no. And that leads into that mindless eating where you're just kind of acting on automation. You're distracted, you're not constantly engaged with the moment, you're not fully present, you're not experiencing the food. So you're never actually going to find that satisfaction or fulfillment that you're looking for because you're not tasting anything, you're not experiencing anything, you're just doing it almost like an autopilot movement just to feel some kind of comfort or fulfill something that's going on that's deeper inside of you. But
Yeah.
mindful eating, it allows you to actually acknowledge and bring awareness into your patterns and triggers that are leading you to make choices that don't feel good, that don't benefit you, that aren't intentional, and that aren't nutritious, so that you're able to redirect what behaviors you have and automate something that's new, rewire the brain and create something that actually feels good and supportive to you so that it's dependable long term.
I love how you talk about experiencing what you're eating. I think that's I so many of us. I mean, I know I until I so you produced a little booklet when I
Mhm.
first met you and shared it with me, and I've actually been practicing a lot of the tips that you have in that book. And up until that point, I was one of those eaters that just chowed, right?
Mm.
Because I only had so much time to eat, and then because that's more, come home from work, and I'm one of the I'm a terrible eater. I don't do breakfast. I do coffee.
Yeah.
I rarely do lunch. If I do anything for lunch, it's generally a granola bar, right?
Mm.
Just grabbing it on the fly. So when I get home for dinner, I just chow,
Yeah.
right? And it goes down faster. I don't even have a chance to really taste it.
Hmm.
And then I read your pamphlet that you had given me, and I started purposely slowing down. And I'll tell you, I enjoy dinner a lot more now. And I don't eat as much. Where I used to go for seconds or sometimes even I'll admit it thirds.
Mhm.
One helping is enough now because I'm taking my time with it, enjoying it, and allowing my brain to catch up what's going in my stomach, right?
Yeah,
And that
absolutely.
was just from reading your little booklet, and following your content has helped out a lot too. But I'm sure there's more to it than just that, right?
hmm Yeah, the Beginner's Guide to Mindful Eating, it is a great starter because it does allow you to bring awareness into your eating habits and your food relationship. Because sometimes we're doing these things for so long that we don't realize that it could be hindering our progress or our success. But when we start to acknowledge that, then we can start to see why it may be coming up. And you may have realized that it is because you're not having breakfast or having lunch, that it's kind of pushing you to do that when you get home.
Hmm.
But after you bring that awareness, you have to figure out what you're going to do differently, how you're going to change things. And sometimes there's a limiting belief, or there's some kind of root cause, maybe something that's happened in your past that's causing you to behave in this certain way or believe that this is the best course of action for you. And I like to take on whatever that old food narrative is and help us discover or interpret if that is actually serving you or if that is causing you more obstacles along the way.
That's interesting. I like that term, food narrative, right?
hmm
Because most people, I would imagine, most don't think of it that way.
No, yeah, it's really your story because we are creating our entire story as we grow up. And a lot of people talk about how they have these instilled beliefs about what they want to do when they grow up as like a profession. But the same way that social media or our community or our parents, our environment, our teachers train us into kind of this person that we grow to be, they do the same thing with food. We are told that we can't have cookies until after dinner. We're told
Hmm.
that we have to eat our vegetables in order to get dessert. We're told that we have to eat at lunchtime and that's going to be at noon. And it creates this idea of eating that may not actually be what we want eating to be.
Yeah, and I think what's so cool, one of your terms that you coined for yourself on LinkedIn, for example, is that you're the diet shred coach, right?
Yes.
And and I think what's so cool is that your approach isn't really a standard approach for everybody. It's something different for everyone. So it's actually pretty unique because one person's breakfast may be at a different time than another person's lunch, as an example, right? I mean, that's your approach, right?
Absolutely, yes. I actually want to get to know you, the person behind the computer, because every single person is different. We are all unique. And a big reason why that diets don't work is because they're a generalized meal plan. They're asking you your age, your weight, your activity level, and your BMI. And then they're like, okay, here you go. Here's all the answers. But that's not you. That doesn't tell me anything about you and what's going on. So I want to get to know the person and shed the generalized diet mentality where we just have to fit a certain box, because life can mold to us. Our eating habits can be molded to us. Like, I had someone who couldn't eat oats because that did not sit well in their stomach. It caused them a lot of bloating and discomfort. But oats are, in the general kind of like healthy, structured food. They're stated
Mm.
as a good food. But for him, it was not helping him. And that's okay. So it was, we have to take on a different breakfast in order to promote more wellness in your body and have you feeling comfortable. But for other
Yeah,
people, oats might be great.
yeah, that's so true, and I think it depends on where you're at in your life too, right? Like I
Mhm.
know for me, all of a sudden I'm kind of lactose intolerant.
Yeah.
I've grown into that. So, and it's I think that's the kind of stuff that you dig into.
Yes, absolutely. And that's actually something I found out for myself too, because I discovered I was lactose intolerant about 4 years ago. And our bodies are constantly changing and evolving. We have to be able to keep up with that. And some kind of diet or meal plan is not going to allow us to be flexible with these things. And
Mm.
so when we're kind of functioning from that aspect, we have to look at the patterns and triggers in the way that food actually makes us feel. And so I actually talk about a food mood journal as well in my beginner's guide to mindful eating that allows you to acknowledge how food is making your body and mentality feel before, during, and after eating.
Okay. Yeah, that was interesting too. I'll be honest, I haven't really done that yet. I'm trying to just more mindful of what I eat and when I eat at this point. But
Mm-hmm.
that's a great idea too. So Alex in the audience just asked what your take on GLP-1s are.
Oh, okay. So that's what they're using for Ozempic. Is that
Yep.
correct?
Yep. Yep.
So I am not a big supporter of the quick fixes. I did a lot of those. I focused very heavily on anything I could get my hands on that was an easy band-aid that could just make everything else go away, make everything easier. And the reason that all of these things are working, especially these big weight loss diets or these medications and these supplements, is because they're giving you the short term fix, but they're not actually teaching you how to function as a person after the medication is up. Because you don't want to be needing this your whole life. You don't want to have to function only based on a medication and continue to financially pay for that, but also just lose that ability to tune into your body and what your body is trying to tell you and what it needs. So once you get off of that, a lot of people, they're regaining a lot of the weight because they go back to their old eating habits, old eating patterns, and old limiting beliefs and old food narratives. So
Hmm.
I'm not pro, but you guys take that with a grain of salt because I'm not you. I have no idea where you're at right now and what's going on with your life, but I know that when I was 65 pounds larger, I would have done it and I would have gained all of the weight back had I not gone to mindful eating.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a really good point. I've been reading more and more on the GLP-1s where they say that almost like a 80, 90 somehow percent of people bounce back almost immediately afterwards.
Yeah.
Uh, So what do you think about the people that go out and get lap band and the different types of surgeries on their stomachs to help reduce the weight? What about that?
So I think a lot of that has to do with, first off, like a chronic health issue. If you are struggling with something that is absolutely outside of my realm of expertise, then that's something that you need to do in order for your physical health to be okay. And I would never judge someone for doing that. But I also think that a lot of people go for it because they don't feel good about themselves and what
Mhm.
they're seeing. And the body dysmorphia is a huge issue that is common in the dieting culture and something that I've struggled with for a very long time. So I can understand why someone would want to do that. But if you're not able to, again, change your habits, then while the surgery will be a short term fix, it's not like you'll gain the weight back. Something will
Yeah.
happen to where you will return to maybe not exactly what you were looking like, maybe what you were weighing at, but you will still go back. You'll still fluctuate towards that more uncomfortable state.
Yeah.
And as someone who's lost 65 pounds, I can tell you that I have a lot of loose skin and it's super uncomfortable, but it's also a lot of internal work being in the mindfulness space. I didn't like myself when I lost 65 pounds. And I thought being skinny would make me happy, would make me like myself. But the internal work that I had to do in order to build that self love, that self compassion, and that self respect, that takes so much more work than just seeing a different number on a scale or seeing a different person in the mirror. So when you're able to learn how to love yourself, I feel like a lot of people don't really want to do that as much.
Yeah. Yeah. I had a very good friend of mine um, who actually put on additional weight to
Mm,
so the insurance would pay for him to get to get some kind of surgery on his stomach.
uh-huh.
And it was so he had it done and he looked good. I mean, and this was a guy that was probably about six something, and 350, almost 400 pounds,
Wow.
right? And then he gained additional weight
Mm.
to get the surgery, got the surgery, came back down to like, I think eventually he was down to like two something, which was significant for him.
Yeah.
And more recently, he's back up over 300, even with the surgery. Because
Hmm.
and I think because, like you said, he didn't address the root of the situation.
Yeah.
And that's why I love the content that you put out, because that's what you talk about. You don't really talk about you talk about nutrition, obviously. You talk about all that stuff too, but you seem to be more focused on the root of what's going on.
Yes.
And I really enjoy that.
Thank you. Yeah, I have a master's in social work. So a lot of what I like to do is in regards to talking to you and seeing what's going on up here, because food and your eating habits, it doesn't start in your stomach, it starts in your head. It's how you're
Hmm.
perceiving food, how you're perceiving your relationship with it. And if we're entering into something with a negative mindset, you are what you feed. So you're going to continue to develop that negativity unless you're able to rewire what's going on. And that's going to be starting at the root, because there's something that's below the surface level that's going on that's causing you to feel like this or think like this. And if we can't figure out what that is, we can't figure out how to rework it, understand it, and make a difference in your life for long term.
Yeah, that's solid advice. Alex is asking again too. What about those with endocrine issues, right, and other counterindicators that can short circuit weight loss
Yeah, I
or
I'm gonna
thyroid
be
issues, right?
yeah, thyroid issues. That the thyroid issues is something I have seen a lot for a lot of women, a lot with PCOS too. So they're just struggling in regards to their hormones and being able to lose weight. And I think a lot of that can play a very big role on your mental health, on the way that you're perceiving your abilities to be successful. So
Hmm.
it's also creating this issue in regards to trusting yourself, because you and your body almost feel like you're battling. You're not feeling connected. It's like your body's against you. So I do think that when you're struggling with something like that, having a physician that you can trust, that you can also talk to about more than just the physical pieces. Because when we go to the doctor, a lot of the doctors nowadays, I feel like, are just kind of giving us a prescription and kind of sending us on our
Hmm.
way. They're not really getting to know us. But if we can find someone that's actually willing to take time to have a conversation and to discuss what's going on so that you can get the assistance that you need, which is often going to be something in regards to counseling,
Hmm.
that can be huge. Because when we feel like we're constantly fighting ourselves, we are going to continue to take action that's not supporting us. And who wants that? No one wants
Yeah,
to feel stuck
yeah,
like that.
yeah. It's so much deeper than the chemistry in our bodies, right?
Hmm.
That's why I love your content, because you talk about all that. You talk about going beyond the chemistry of it all. I think that's important. I think that's in our society today and social media today. You have all these quick fixes. Everything's about. That's why GLP-1s are so popular right now, because everybody sees it as their quick fix. That's why they're trying to develop even more of those. Um, I got a buddy who's a pharmacist. He can't keep it in stock.
Oh
It's
my
amazing
gosh.
how quickly it's flying out the door. So I think having someone like you out there that's kind of looking beyond the chemistry of it, right,
Mhm.
and getting into the emotional aspect of it, I think you're doing some really critical work.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I absolutely love what I do. And I definitely think that there's a fine line between what is going on that's something that I can assist someone with, and something that's a little bit more of a medical or a physical struggle. Because I would never want someone to feel like, just because they're using one of these tactics because maybe their doctor did tell them that it's needed. Because I know that the GLP-1, like for Ozempic, it's not just for weight loss. There's other stuff going on, and that's why
Oh
it
yeah.
was created. And when people are using it in that context, I'm never going to be like, no, why are you doing that? Like, bad, don't do that, don't listen to your doctor. But I just want to take a look at the other pieces of the puzzle, because it's not always just one thing.
Hmm.
So much of our life is interconnected and intertwined, and I think that eating has a lot to do with that too.
Yeah, amazing, amazing. Kylie, I just want to thank you. I want to remind everyone again that if you're not connected with Kylie, if you're not engaging with her on LinkedIn or on Facebook or any one of our other socials, you really need to. She's doing some amazing work. And if you need help, frankly, you definitely should engage with her then. How do they find you, Kylie?
Yes, so I am on LinkedIn. That is where I got to meet Bob for the first time and get connected with him. It is just Kiley-Houck. And I'm also on Instagram and Facebook. So Facebook, just search my name, Kiley Houck, but Instagram is at Kylie_Arden, which is my middle name, fun fact. And then I also have a website that you can check out that has a lot of good content. I have a lot of stuff for journaling, because I think reflective journaling is a really big help in getting to know yourself a little bit. And that is Kylie's Health Haven LLC.com. And if you're interested in getting the beginner's guide to mindful eating that Bob was talking about a little bit earlier, you can just add one of those backslashes to the end of my website and have subscribe following that, and then you will be able to get that free guide when you sign up for my email list, which I email out at least once a week, usually twice a week, with toolkits and wellness Wednesdays, so that you guys can take on your eating with confidence and learning how to trust yourself.
Yeah, and I've put your web address in the banner below. So write that down and sign up for the newsletter. I'm a newsletter subscriber of Kylie's for sure, and I get a lot of good, useful information out of it. So Kylie, thank you so much for joining me on this premiere episode. I promise next time we have you on, StreamYard won't be having the issues that it had earlier. Obviously, it's over now, so the rest of the conversation was great. For those of you who missed the beginning of the conversation because of the technical issues, I apologize on behalf of StreamYard, unfortunately. But we're going to have Kylie on again. And fun fact too, actually, Kylie's been on the show before. I did a special a few months ago for the MS walk that I was participating in. And I asked Kylie to be on to offer some advice for those of us who suffer with MS, and she did a great job. And so we're very supportive of each other, which I like. She's getting
Oh
to be
my
my little
gosh, yes.
sister.
I love it. No, I'm always so happy to be connected with you and to stay in the loop in regards to how you're doing, because you're such a light and you bring such positive energy to the world. And I cannot get enough of you. I
Well, thank you. I
always have a
appreciate
great
that.
time. Yeah.
That's so very kind. All right, so everyone, connect, follow, and engage with Kylie. She's that person that's going to change many lives. I see that happening all the time. Uh, Join us next week for a new Coffee with Bob. And if you're interested in being on Coffee with Bob, uh, go to my LinkedIn profile, look at my About section. There's a link to my calendar where you can schedule yourself. It's only available on Fridays, but just Kylie can even chime up here too. This is not a scripted show. This is totally organic, and we just kind of discuss and talk. But the whole idea behind Coffee with Bob is to feature new people, right? To introduce people and their services uh, to the world. So
Absolutely.
and especially people that I truly value, and Kylie, I value you a great deal. So thank you
Thank
again.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. I hope everyone has a great day.
Awesome. All right, hang on.